Hello and welcome everybody to the Pierpoint Alpha community 20 questions and 20 answers. I said in 30 minutes. No one's ever seen me do anything in 30 minutes. But look, I'm more important and I'm more excited about talking about the Pierpoint Alpha community. So, what is it? The pack is a place where we help people that want to improve their skills, knowledge, and network, and either for themselves or for themselves and their teams or just their team. So that's what I'm going to talk about. We launched it at the end of January. I'll talk a little bit more about what we've done since then, what our future plans are now, and where we kind of go from here. So, as I said, the Pierpoint Alpha community, or the PAC, as we call it, the PAC, it's a membership club that are for people that are either in securities finance or surrounding it. So a lot of, say, the professional advisors that are associated with the business. It's for people that, as I said, if they want to sharpen their skills, if they want to learn more, if they want to interact with experts and be part of a community, then this is the place that they should consider joining. It's not necessarily for everyone. People always go, well, I don't really know about membership clubs. That's kind of weird. It's not my thing, and I'm not in a knitting circle, so I don't want to do that. But don't forget, Netflix is a membership club, right? You pay a monthly fee, you get access to all of their content. It's up to you whether you use some of it, none of it, or you use it every day. And that's what the pack is as well. But let me take a step back and explain how I came up with the idea or why we've ended up where we are today. So last year, obviously an unusual year for everyone around the world. But for this community, I think I look at it as really a watershed moment. And it was great because you had more time. You had access to lots of free virtual events. You had spare time. All of a sudden, you didn't have commuting time. And a lot of people took that time to invest in themselves. At the virtual events that were industry related, they were all of a sudden free and more accessible than ever because it wasn't just the one or two or three people that could travel to a conference once or twice or three times a year. All of a sudden, everyone had access, and that was great news. But what they missed out on were a few things. Number one, you didn't have the person sitting next to you just to ask a question of, because the person sitting next to you, if anyone was, you were probably related to them and they probably don't have a lot of securities lending expertise. Maybe in a few cases they do, but it's certainly not the norm. The second thing is, really, for much of my career, I've seen firms going into downsizing and then right sizing and then smart sizing and then outsourcing and then insourcing and onshoring, offshoring, all kinds of changes. And what I've also seen is a lot of people that had knowledge and expertise uh, retire or move to different industries or be let go. And so I saw this sort of combination of lack of access to information and kind of disappearing information as a real potential issue. And we've also seen a number of events that were freely accessible to anyone all of a sudden be closed off and held to members only, or members get in free and others pay a fee. So the issue is access. And on top of that, the problem with public events, frankly, is that they're what the sponsors or the hosts and the speakers want to talk about, not necessarily what people want answers to. We came up with the Pierpoint Alpha community. So the idea is that this is one place where you can continually count on regularly improving your knowledge, experience, and contacts. And part of it is access to expertise. I'm not convinced that we're teaching people anything that they couldn't find within their own firm or give them access to experts that probably sit not too far from them. But it's really more a question of pulling that together and identifying what's required, how it's required, and delivering that on a consistent basis. Because frankly, everyone's got a day job. So how do you do that? That's where the pack comes in. Let me give you a couple of examples of how this all works. Some firms have agreed to sponsor less experienced staff as a way of taking them up the learning curve pretty quickly and making certain that they have constant access to information. If you look at graduates, one of the interesting things about graduates is they've just been through this whole learning exercise as they go through university, and then often there's kind of a graduate training program where they've been learning, and then they end up within a particular group, and all of a sudden, they've got these other challenges with and working with people that have, you know, it, multiple degrees more information than they do about that. So how do you catch up? And of course, if someone was sitting beside you, that would be easier. Graduates will learn over time, but wouldn't it be better if they could learn more quickly in a more structured way? We've had some firms that say, no, we want to invest in our people, and we'll actually take X number of memberships, and that way we know that our people will have access to continuous learning. Now, whether they use it or not, well, that's up to the individual. Now, when I talk about sort of companies sponsoring employees, I'll come back to that. The important thing to remember here is that where companies are paying on behalf of staff, that isn't an endorsement from that company for the PAC. We don't seek endorsements from companies, and companies don't offer endorsements either. It's just the fact that they're paying for it and making it accessible and really investing in their staff. But what about more experienced people? Well, we had within the forum people who have asked questions in one of the threads, and we have sort of 8 different threads of questioning, and they wanted to know about best practices for mark-to-market pricing on a daily basis. So these threads are curated, so they would have gotten answered. But before we could answer, one of the other members of the pack had access to the information and shared it with a colleague, and it's that kind of community that I think we like to see and we want to see continue to grow. And it's that sort of member to member sharing of information and questions that you really don't get on LinkedIn or really in any other place, right? Because it's just not the done thing to say, well, I don't really know the answer to that question. So way here, you can ask that question and get it answered either by us or by an expert. But what about other people with even more expertise? Well, the last tutorial that we had was a great one on ETFs given by Andrew Jameson of Citibank. Did a great job. One of the best presentations I've seen on ETFs. And one of the PAC members who has quite a lot of experience has had a lot of experience, but never at a firm that dealt with ETFs. So while they have a tremendous amount of knowledge and experience, not in this one area. So not only did they have the tutorial accessible to them, but they sent in some questions, sort of 3 very detailed questions with multiple parts to it. We got answers to all of those questions, but it's really about following up with any of our experts to make certain they have access to the information to augment what you already know. As it turns out, it's the reason that they were particularly interested in it was because one of their clients was asking about it. So it's really about taking practical skills and putting it into the day-to-day life. So if we go back and say, who's it for again? New to business, like new to finance altogether, new to this business. So we have members in there that have done, say, 3, 5, 7 years in another area and then come into securities finance. And while they have skills and experience in another area, they don't in this business, but they don't need to be told what stocks and bonds are. And so the basics of securities lending, they want to take it up a notch. I've talked about how more experienced people can take very selective topics and add to their own knowledge and experience. But we also see vendors coming in here where they have ideas and thoughts on how they want to serve the community, but want to have other people that they want to meet, want to know, want to test ideas and questions on. We have one firm who has signed up for their graduates, which they're just sort of rolling in over the next few months. So what they've done is they've packaged it up. So they've also bought some of the training courses and the membership as a way of combining this kind of online, on-demand access to information, but augmented by not only ongoing tutorials on other topics, but access to other people in the community to ask questions. It's about anyone that wants to really invest in themselves. For me, if when I was younger in this business, I would have loved this. But the good news is I didn't need that because frankly, we were making this industry up as we kind of went along. And what I mean by that is uh, in the 80s, when I first came to the UK and started a stock loan desk, and we didn't have any contracts in place with anyone, and we didn't take collateral. It was crazy, but those rules changed. In the 90s, we kind of reinvented prime brokerage, and all of this really came to light in a discussion a few weeks ago with a hedge fund manager who said, well, Roy, I've had 17 years experience as a hedge fund manager. And I'm, well, that's quite a lot. And then I realized that 17 years only takes him back to 2004. So that got me thinking about securities finance people, and I put together this chart, which I think is great. I'm just gonna quickly share it with you. So if you've been in the business for a year, you missed the market crash last year. So that's 1 year. You've only seen rising markets in the business. 8 years, you missed the European debt crisis in 2011 and 2012. If you've been in the business a dozen years, which is a long time, you still miss Lehman Brothers and the lessons we learned from that. If you've been around 20 years, like the hedge fund manager I talked about, as I said, he missed the dot-com bubble and bust, but also missed the Asian currency crisis or bond crisis and the Malaysian short selling ban, which now we have lots of experience with short selling bans. When Malaysia did it in 97, that shook up everything, right? People had to figure out how to close out positions because it wasn't just that there was a short selling ban. They also put currency restrictions in. So if you'd loaned out your assets, you had to actually find a way to get them back, not be exposed to the currency. And it was a real sort of learning exercise. If you've been around for 25 years, you missed the chaos that surrounded the almost going bust of Barings Bank before it was rescued by ING. But you also missed securities reinvestments, cash reinvestment losses from inverse floaters, and the real first threat on cash reinvestment, which was a commercial paper issuance that went into Chapter 11 in the US in 1992, and the agent lender required their one agent lender required their clients actually fund those assets while they were sort of frozen and immobile. And that led to all kinds of changes again. And if you've been around 35 years, you probably still don't know, or you only heard rumors about the fact that back in the day, when I first started in security services, bonds weren't collateralized for the accrued interest. So the only thing that was collateralized was the principal. And so there was a firm called Drysdale who was borrowing bonds, collateralizing the principal. They were actually selling the bonds, getting money in, and sort of repeating. And there was pretty significant losses as a result of that when they went bust. So I just thought that might be interesting. And what my challenge to you is, without something formalized where you can get access to information like that, how do you make up for those gaps? Because all of those things have changed the industry somehow. So look, that's one of the issues. Now, how do you actually get over that? What I think is the only answer is you have to find a way to get that information from someone. So if we look, it's about how do you address the gaps? Well, the gaps are access to experts, and again, you can get those or you can have them delivered to you. It's access to the information in the form of either structured tutorials or special events. And of course, it's access to peers. Because again, you can always do these on a one off basis, but at the end of the year, will you necessarily be structurally much better off than where you are today? PAC members are. And let me just show you what I mean by that. So this is actually a screenshot of the from the PAC membership site, and this is where we list the topics that we think people have been interested in or should be interested in for upcoming potential learning sessions, tutorials. This shows you in red where we've already done uh, where we've already done the training sessions. That's in red, where they're actually showing that they've been done, and they're stored in the library. So the real advantage of this is, number one, you can attend live and ask questions of the expert live, and that's great. But of course, not everyone can attend it live. And what if you attend it live and then you can't quite remember what they actually said? Well, again, we store everything. We record all of these events, and they're stored in the library, so you can look at those on demand. So you can see the one in blue near the bottom. That's the next tutorial scheduled for the last week of this month, and that'll be on synthetic prime brokerage. Now, the interesting thing here is this isn't the range of topics that I decided people should be interested in, and these aren't the experts that were available. These tutorials and this priority sequence is what the members voted on. So this is delivering to the members what they want. What do you get? Well, as I said, you get monthly tutorials. So we've had long short strategies from one portfolio manager. We've had pledge collateral from Habib Matani, who is the guru and been there from the start of the discussions with Isla and all through the documentation process. I talked about the ETF one already, and we have synthetic prime brokerage next. So that's one thing that everyone's entitled to. The second thing is that we have monthly free format Q&As. So people can just bring in questions that they want to do in a free format. That's not recorded so that people feel comfortable asking questions and getting answers and discussing things without it being on the record, so to speak. At 6 o'clock tonight, UK time, so in about 35 minutes, I'm going to be on Clubhouse with the members, where we have a private room. Clubhouse, for those of you who don't know it, is an audio only app where you can have basically discussions with people. And you can either be part of a public discussion, you can have private one-on-one or small group discussions, or you can have membership clubs. Last week, we started a membership club for the PAC members. So again, it's an opportunity for people just to come with no agenda, no one can see what you look like, so you don't need to shave like I did today for this. It's just a chat. There's also private content. One of the things that I talked about is this bridging this gap with people that have experience. So we have something called the Interviews with Legends series, where I go back and I interview people that I've known throughout my career or have been recommended to me, and we ask them about their background and how they got into the business, what their view is, what the seminal points of the industry have been over their career, and where they see it going, and what advice they give to people. I did another interview with Simon Lure, who's an old boss of mine, who on the day, one of the things we talked about was that in a crisis, what you need to do is dispose of your collateral as soon as you can so that you're as early in the queue as possible, get the best prices and the most liquidity. And we recorded that on the day that the Archegos uh, debacle was unfolding in New York on a Friday, and not everyone disposed of their portfolios quickly enough. So I immediately sent that out to everyone and said, see, this is the value that these legends and these influencers that I know can bring to the market. So that's what the Interviews with Legends series is all about. We are just about to release. I'm just finalizing the editing of an interview with a someone who wrote a short selling report on a U.S. company that was, I guess, about 6 weeks ago when he issued it. The stock was trading in the high 20s. And today it's trading at $15. And so I asked him about the process of identifying potential candidates, researching them, and then putting out the report and sort of trading around it. If you do a lot of research into membership clubs, the way that I did in preparing for this, what you find is people join for the knowledge and information that they gain. Why they stay is the community. And so we've built a small community, and it's still early days. As I said, we've only been running for kind of just over 3 months. But the next stage, and we're trialing this at the moment, we're doing some testing out with members, is virtual networking events, which will also hopefully lead someday to real live in-person events. But we're trialing that now. Now, the other thing, of course, is because this is all about learning, we also give PAC members savings on the Pierpoint range of courses that we do in the Pierpoint Securities Finance Academy. So you get a 30% discount on all the courses. So frankly, if you're planning on taking a course, you might as well join up for the PAC, because you're going to save more on the course than you are going to by paying out for the membership. So that's just a little tip, but don't tell anyone. So monthly tutorials, monthly Q&As, special PAC member only content, community networking, and savings on courses. That's really the summary of what you actually get. Okay. Now, the important thing there, which I just touched on, these are individual memberships. So anyone can join, right? We have one or two people that are what I would consider kind of outside the industry, that want to get into the industry or want to sell products into the industry and realize that they have to learn more about the industry before they have a credible product to sell, or before they can make a case for themselves. And in one case, someone who's actually trying to build their credentials so that they can apply for jobs in this space. And so it's an interesting approach. And to me, if I was hiring and I found someone who actually put money out of their own pocket to invest in themselves before they applied for the job, I think that would be pretty impressive. Now, when I talk about individual membership, I keep coming back to individuals and corporates. What the corporate membership is any company that pays for 10 or more staff, team members. They're really investing in their own team. They're saying, look, we'll pick up the tab for you to have this sort of continuous learning and network growing opportunity. And really, that's how you should look at it. In the same way that a company might pay for someone to take a course, or someone might pay someone's professional membership dues, this is akin to that. And I'll just quickly talk about the costs here. Somewhere. Let me tell you what the costs are in that case. It's £30 a month, right, for an individual. If someone just wants to sign up right now, sign up now. If you want to sign up right now, it's £30 a month. There is no commitment to do more than a month. And in fact, right now, while we're doing this membership drive, what we are offering is a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you put your £30 down, you get access to everything as with any other member. And if you decide for whatever reason in the next 30 days that you don't actually want to be a member, then we'll give you your money back. No questions asked. We'll give it back to you. And everyone said that I'm nuts because people could just join, download all the stuff, access all the information that's on there now, get all of that, get the £30 back, and be done with it. Look, I'm okay with that, because the truth is that's limited amount of knowledge. Second thing is, that's not someone that's interested in a career, right? That's someone that's opportunistic, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that kind of person doesn't belong in the group anyway. So £30 a month, if you want to do it on a monthly basis. Of course, you get savings. If you do an annual ticket, it's £300, and that £300 is equivalent to 2 months free. So basically, you pay for 10, get 2 months free. And the corporate membership is £2,400, and that's for 10 people. And so that's kind of like even more savings there. I have to tell you a story. I hate if I'm listening to the radio or watching TV or seeing something online, and I see a company where I'm a customer and they're offering new customers a better price than I get. And I kind of like, hang on, I'm a customer of yours. I'm paying you money. In fact, I'm probably funding this marketing exercise for you to bring in people cheaper than me. What's that all about? So what I've made a commitment to all of our members is that At whatever price point they've come in at, whatever they've paid, they will continue to pay that price as long as they stay a paying member. So the price might go up, but it will certainly never go down. There is one exception to that, just to be clear, where someone is buying a package of goods like training courses and consulting and pack membership. Of course, that's a bundled price, and so that's different. But if someone is just being a member, either from a company or from an individual, then the price will never be discounted from the current price. So look, the question I get asked more than anything else is, why, Roy, would you launch a membership and then close the membership? Isn't that kind of counterintuitive? And I guess on the face of it, it is. But what you have to do is first look at the name. A membership club is what it says on the tin. It's for the members. And to the extent that I am spending time marketing and trying to get customers or answering questions for prospective members or prospective firms that want to bring in members, that's great. And of course, we need money to run this. But frankly, the time that I'm spending marketing, I'm not spending on making the product better for my members. So let me give you an example. I already talked about the kind of test marketing of the virtual networking event. So that's one example of it. The other thing is, I talked about the content, the long short trading, the pledge collateral, the ETFs, um, and the securities finance tax one, where we also had a discussion on CumX, which was fascinating. And so the feedback that everyone wanted to see was kind of a classification rating on it. And so what that classification will say is sort of who this will be targeted at, kind of the level of experience that you'd have. So what we're going to be doing is putting in a complexity uh, rating or classification system. That's one thing. And the second thing is we also got a pretty resounding request for kind of a foundation level. So not basics, more advanced than basics, but a foundation level so that everyone could have sort of a common understanding. It's kind of not quite as detailed as our 8-week plus exam online course, but more in depth than the free Saturday fundamentals sessions that I do. So we're going to be putting that in place. Hopefully, that gives you an idea of the kinds of things that we're actually going to be working on. Why I want to actually focus on my members that are paying me money. That's why we're closing it. When we're closing it is coming up very shortly. I launched this a 3-week window. It closes June 13th, so Sunday midnight. We're actually closing the doors to new members. Everyone asks, when are you going to open up again? The answer is I don't know. It'll be at least 3 months. It'll probably be more than that, but it's too early for me to say. Okay, so after Sunday, I'm going to focus on the members. We're going to make it even better, even more interesting and fulfilling for those people, and hopefully, you'll join us and be part of that. That's the question of why I would open up a membership club and then close it. But people have had 3 weeks, so I think that's fair enough. But if you want to learn more about it, uh, use that URL there. Join PAC now. Hopefully, you understand more about the PAC, and I hope to see you part of it. We'll get so that you can see what's actually in there. As I said, uh, tutorials from experts. So this is not from me. I haven't done any of the monthly tutorials. As I said, it's not about me. It's about bringing other experts in that kind of augment the kind of core securities lending information and experience